love's going to leave me. So sexy, it hurts.
Right, so Fred.
Yes,
hi.
Absolutely.
First, can I congratulate you guys on coming out and standing up against all of this?
Thanks very much. Thank you.
I've got to say, unlike many other musicians out there.
Yes, it's a bit quiet on the.
Yes, it's on our side of the debate.
On the entertainment stage, whatever you want to call it. You know, the weird thing is that we never thought speaking out would be an issue, because this is a country I thought where speaking out was kind of encouraged in a way.
Yeah.
And for some inexplicable reason, within the last 2 years, speaking out on so many issues has become a big issue. J.K. Rowling on another issue completely. So yes, it's a strange time. But I think it's been colluded by, you know, the press is colluded in it, the government has. So it's a very odd time, I think. And also the speed of it all has been extraordinary.
When did you guys first wake up to all of this?
Different time.
Fred's before me.
Yeah, it's late 90s, about 99, 2000s. I started listening to Alex Jones, and it was around the Bohemian Grove fiasco, you know, and his involvement in that. Then I got into Power Hour all around 9/11. Then I started listening to James, you know, the Corporate Report, Vigilante Dollar, Richie Allen, UK Column when they came along. So it was and Rich and I we didn't always agree on it, because I became quite conspiratorial quite early on.
I wasn't at all conspiratorial.
And so Rich thought I was a little bit
bonkers,
paranoid. But slowly different opinions came like this, and then COVID was just not the icing on the cake, but was something that sealed that.
I think for me it was the Build Back Better thing. Once you heard all these people, Merkel and Macron and that idiot Trudeau and Johnson, all using the same phrase in their speeches, I just thought something's going on here. Somebody's made a phone call. You can say what you like, but put these 3 words in.
Yeah.
And then you had the idiot Johnson talking about Build Back Better in a more feminine way.
Yeah, what was that?
You know, it's just nonsense.
Yeah. And
so
also,
that was, for me, that was when the beginning. And then it was a little bit of gradually beginning to realise that we were being mollycoddled and talked to as children. So when you go to an ATM, there's patterns on the pavement to tell you how to stand, as if you don't know how to stand. Arrows everywhere. And I just suddenly thought, hold on a second, this is all getting a little bit.
I'll tell you what really struck us was we were on tour in 2019. I think we were in Germany, and I bought a Snickers bar, and it had instructions on the back on how to open the wrapper. And I remember us looking at it thinking, what the fuck is this? You know, you bought a chocolate bar and it says, you know, it doesn't just say tear here.
Instructions.
It was instructions. It actually said instructions. I just thought, this is just nannying. Bullshit.
We've allowed the state far too much influence in our personal lives. Far too much. I think it's way out of control now.
And so you came out with your amazing song.
Well,
We're All Criminals is about surveillance, actually.
Initially,
as much as anything,
We kind of re-lyriced it a little bit in 2021, because we first released it about 2016, and it was more about surveillance, and we were just getting sick of it, you know. And then when COVID came along, we sort of re-lyriced it and we released it. And we were actually, I think we changed the whole of the video. And we were a guy called Goat did the video. We thought he did a really good job of the video. And we've been writing about sort of dismay with things for a while, but we tend to wrap it up. We don't do
protest songs.
No,
particularly.
we tend to wrap it up in a pop sort of environment. So you know, we don't. I don't know. It's hard to explain. We tend to be, we'd say cautious, but we were always mainstream pop, and I think we still have some of that in us. And so when we're writing, sometimes we go that way. You know, it's not criticism, it's just how it is.
If we wrote songs that were truly reflective of our emotional state most of the time, nobody would buy it.
Or listen to it.
It is
too disturbed.
It is too disturbed and far too downbeat. And we do it a lot of it to cheer ourselves up, actually.
The upbeat stuff,
The upbeat stuff, it was just. I read an article many years ago from a journalist. He was saying when he was a boy, this is going back into the 30s or 40s probably, you were only really aware of the state at 3 times. When you were born, or your parents were aware, when you bought a stamp, and when you paid taxes. That was the only time the state made its presence felt on you. Now it is ubiquitous, it is everywhere. You can't do it. In the hotel we're in, there's a sign in the lift that says only one person at a time, unless you're from the same household. I mean, it's madness. Yeah. And if you remember, back in the day, they were telling you how to stand in a lift facing the corner.
Yes.
Do you remember that?
Yeah, they were actually, exactly.
So we have to, and I talked to a guy the other day at Heathrow Airport, and I banged the screens in front of the Costa Coffee people. And I looked at this guy and I said, how long do you think these are going to be here? And he said, oh, I don't know, we've just got to get used to it.
No, we haven't.
No, you haven't.
That is exactly
the point. You must never get used to it.
And
ever.
also, it's the state's job to justify its position to me.
Exactly.
Not me. We pay for them.
Exactly.
So they have to justify their position to me or to us.
Yeah. We've got it all around the wrong way.
I'm not interested in justifying who I am or what I do, as long as I work within the parameters of acceptable behaviour.
Yeah.
I'm not interested in justifying myself to them. It's none of their business how I spend my money, how I spend my time. As long as I don't break the law and I pay my way.
I think we need a fundamental reset, to use that word.
A greater reset.
It's a greater reset.
It's a greater. Yeah,
They've got their great reset, which we know is a load of tosh. The reset that's really needed is the reset between the people and the government.
Yeah.
That's what needs resetting. And they need to be reminded, they need to be aware of it almost 24 hours a day, that they serve us.
Yeah.
That's what they do. They do not tell us what to do unless we agree to it. It's like these chemtrails, which I was never really sure about chemtrails, to be honest. But let's supposing, for argument's sake, it's true. Where's the democratic accountability for that?
Yeah.
Who do we phone? What are you doing? What is it? This is all, it's in the fog of war.
Yeah.
And you guys have been talking about English liberalism, basically.
Yes.
Yes.
And as a tradition that you said you expected that would continue. It's something you expected that you would question things. Are you concerned that that's not being passed to the next generation?
I think, I am. I think
it's a bit patchy.
It's a bit patchy. I think it was disgraceful of Johnson not to mention fundamental principles like liberty, bodily choice, all that stuff.
Right of assembly.
He was a disgrace. Completely enthralled apparently by Sage and 2 scientists apparently. ITV think there's only one doctor in the whole country, Dr. Hillary. So we've been swamped by this misinformation, this misleading nonsense for 2 years now. But what I think it's done is I think it's made people who perhaps previously weren't aware of it, that actually this has probably been going on since the Second World War.
Oh.
This and probably
Centuries.
before, that this level of deceit between the higher-ups and us has been going on for a long, long time.
I don't know if you've read Tolkien, but the whole Lord of the Rings is about his story of coming from the Shire, which is meant to represent
that's right.
traditional England, where there is no government. The
No,
most
that's
you've
right.
got is a night watchman.
That's right.
Night watchman. He's dragged through this sort of world war, and he goes back, but it's never the same.
No.
It never has been the same, has it?
I mean, I think people ask me, we were asked today about whether we need like a revolution or whatever. I actually think the system is fine. It's the problem is the people in it. That's the problem. You've got to fill the House of Commons with people who aren't WEF. You've got to fill the House of Commons with people who care about their constituents deeply. That's their only and main concern. Not their job, not their ministerial career, not their perks. The people that put them there.
Yeah.
That's what needs changing.
Would you not say, though, that one of the problems is they've got so much power in their hands? And I go back to Tolkien with this. It's like the ring. You as much as you want to use it for good, it's something that you actually have to destroy. You've got institution after institution after institution. We've got how many thousands of pieces of statue on the books? No one knows. No one makes sense of that.
Exactly.
Well, we have a police force or a service, whatever they're called now, trying to enforce laws they don't understand. They're like when they arrested a fair cop the other day, and they released him the next day. They complete waste of taxpayers' money, police time, and then if you want to get really conspiratorial, you look at the grooming gangs in Rochdale and other areas, and you look at the knife crime in London. And you think, well, none of this is making sense. You're very, very sensitive to some guy who's retweeted
a meme
or a tweet, but apparently some kid walking down the street with a machete's cool. We can work.
Or at least we won't do anything about it.
Yeah, I mean, I find the whole thing. It is the common sense has been kicked to the curb, and there's just this. I don't know. It's a complete. I feel like we're in the Alice in Wonderland. It's like a dark version of it. So I find the Mad Hatter's Tea Party.
And also, I think with things like liberty and freedom of speech, all that stuff, I think people have got used to the idea that it's written in stone, that it's just there. Whatever happens, it's there. We don't have to worry about it. Actually, the truth is it needs defending every single minute of every single day. Because there are plenty of people out there, you can see them in the CCP in China, you can see them in the WEF, you can see them in the WHO. They are not interested in democratic accountability. They don't care. They don't care about liberty, they don't care about freedom of dissent or all that stuff. They just want to control you, me and everybody else here. They are happy to take our taxes. Oh, that's cool. Take the taxes, take the tax money, but do as we say. No. Absolutely not.
That applies to Liz Truss and Sunak. One of them's going to be...
It'll be Liz Truss. It'll be Liz Truss.
I think so. One of them will be Tory leader. I personally think Johnson's going to come back in 2024.
Yeah.
I think his ego is too big. It won't stop it. It will just drive him to do like a Trumpism, if you like.
Yeah.
I think Trump will get the next American president.
Yeah, the sad thing is we've been labelled anti-vax, from the beginning, which we're not. This is a much more fundamental issue than the vaccine. It's much more fundamental. It's to do with fundamental principles of a liberal society.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
But it's cut and paste journalism. You see it from I've had it online with Julia Hartley-Brewer referred to us as conspiracy theories. We've had it with the Daily Mail, all sorts of people.
I've had it from the Daily Mail.
It's lazy, really preset mentality. Oh, they say that, they must be that. If you question immigration, you're a racist. If you have a bit of spliff at night, you're a drug addict. I mean, it's just this ludicrous conversation. And I have no time for any of these people because they're not interested in digging deeper. They just want to have a go at you to benefit their ratings.
Well, we've just had another co-write or whatever interpolation with Beyonce, right? And we've been slagged off for being Illuminati because she is supposedly Illuminati. I mean, it's insane.
We've never met her.
We've never met her. I thought Illuminati was a kind of light bulb. I didn't know what. I don't know.
I find the whole
the whole thing is insane.
Also, what's interesting is that we've been cancelled for the last 28 months. A lot of things taken away from us.
What happened to you?
Well, we had 2 commercials we were meant to shoot, got pulled from them. A movie that we basically put together, we've been pulled out of that. About 50 shows cancelled. So it's quite significant. And what was interesting, when Drake we did a co-write with Drake last year, and then Beyonce's picked up on a song of ours. We get slagged off for working with these people. But I'm saying, hey, I haven't worked for 28 months.
What do you want me to do?
What do you want me to do? And it's really interesting. This sort of double standard, which is, well, you deserve not to work. Oh, you're working, you mustn't work. It's this sort of. They kind of have these hate figures, and
it was your choice to speak out.
Yes.
It was your choice not to have the vaccine. It was your choice. So in a way, you're condemned. They condemn you by saying it's your fault.
It's damned if you do.
It's damned if you do, and damned if you don't.
Yeah.
Our position has always been just tell it how you see it. It's really simple. I think life just gets complicated when you lie. When you bullshit, that's when life gets really complicated. That's why most politicians are hopeless, because they've spent their time there, or on the front benches at least. They're so compromised, lying becomes second nature, or at least certainly playing fast and loose with the truth is the thing. We are happier now than we were when Sexy broke in 1991.
We lost control of that.
Because we lost control of that.
Yeah.
And I didn't enjoy being part of that machine. I didn't like it. I like being able to say what I think and writing the songs that we want to write.
And having been sort of inside the media industrial complex.
Yeah.
What is it like inside?
Well, it's just you get bullied. You get bullied.
Very different levels. We were in control to a degree because Signed to Sexy broke when we weren't signed. So suddenly we went from being a band that nobody wanted to sign to a band that everyone wanted to sign. So and that was within a 3-month period. So Sexy broke in America on import, and we didn't have a record deal. We had we were signed. No, it's not quite true. We were probably signed in the UK by December '92, but when it broke in the UK, we weren't signed.
Yeah.
So what happened is that suddenly, when we were discussing record deals, we were discussing from the point of view of having a big record. We got record breaking all over the world, and so we had a degree of control because we weren't cap in hand. We weren't, please, can you sign this? We're like, do you want? If you don't want to sign this, fuck off. Someone else will. So we were very privileged to have that. So we weren't quite in the same position as a lot of other bands, and we signed a very favourable deal. So we got lucky from that perspective, but the bad thing was the song ran away from us. So we were chasing a hit, and we were just a cash cow for about 3 years, and then the second album came out, and none of the band were getting on. We hated our record company, they hated us. We wouldn't go to meetings, the whole thing fell apart.
We spoke in falsetto one interview. We got so tired, so bad tempered, we just spoke in falsetto for the whole interview.
Because we refused to, we didn't want them to use it. So.
Well, we were talking like the women in Monty Python, you know, that kind of voice, you know. But one of the things, the sort of thing that happened to us was when we did kids' TV shows. Can you make sure you shave your chest in the morning because the hairy chest will frighten the kids?
You get into all that,
which didn't happen for Gary Glitter, I think.
No.
Can you make sure that you're not chewing gum? It looks common. And I just got, that's not the world, that's not the life I wanted to lead.
So we got courted in LA because the band was big at that time. So we suddenly had some very big names backstage and big producers, and so we were being, we weren't really into it. We didn't think. I think if we'd been into it, we would have moved to LA, got an LA agent, worked the room. And we were invited, we were asked to be in Die Hard with a Vengeance and all this stuff, and we actually just couldn't be asked. We thought, this is all a bit shit.
Also, we're English, I like being here.
Yeah, and I want to be left alone.
I want to be left alone, play my songs,
play in a band, play off stage and go home.
Yeah, have a glass of wine and that's it.
So I think some people love it. They, we've been played with a ton of artists who come alive in front of the camera. Their whole life is camera dependent. We just don't have to
coming alive on stage is great.
It's great.
I love that. But coming alive just on the camera thing, I'm not quite so.
It's a cult of celebrity, isn't it?
Yeah, there is a cult of celebrity. And some people, you know how some people need to photograph their food before they eat it? As if the food's not real unless it's in the picture. And there's an element of that. They photograph, they're not real unless there's a camera in front of them.
Yeah.
And also the other thing, in all honesty, we weren't very good at it.
No.
The red carpet thing, we're not very good at it.
We actually called our record company in America, called us into the office and said, you don't act famous enough.
Can you be a bit more famous?
Because we send the limos away and all that stuff. And we were told by our PR that apart from Lady Di, we're the most photographed Brits in the world. And they thought we would go, oh, this is great. I just thought my heart sank. I just thought, this is ridiculous.
Yeah.
So...
Also, what's good about this whole festival thing, and the only upside of COVID, actually, if you like, is it gives you... Before, the only reason for getting up in the morning was to have another hit. And in the end, you start thinking, is that all your life is? Having another hit? Is that
waving at cameras?
Is that what you're... And then this came along, and suddenly there was a reason to speak. There was a reason and something really important, fundamental stuff that we were talking to you earlier about, and that's changed our mind completely about the business in a way. And what I was mentioning, we were thinking of going out next year with Right Said Fred and a backing band of some kind.
A band who are an entity in their own right.
In their own right, like Florence and the Machine kind of thing. You know? And so I mentioned the idea to somebody else today. It was going to be Right Fred and the Fuck Yous, and they thought it was a great title.
Yeah.
A bunch of people who just think this whole thing is nonsense. Let's get out and play.
We want the bands not to be session players. We want them to be bands who maybe have had some hits on their own, or different members from different bands, something like that. And so we don't want it to be just just a support band. We want it to be part of this new thing. And so we're thinking about that, and we're just going to play it. I know we'd stick to a house.
It's a very strange time now.
It is,
You know,
yeah.
we're living through it, so perhaps sometimes you don't realise how strange it is, but it is incredibly
Very
strange.
fucked up. Yeah.
And do you know how much it means for a lot of the people playing here that you've come up and you've introduced them? People who are playing literally their first set ever.
Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
I know
yeah,
they've
yeah,
got
yeah,
you guys
yeah.
who are coming up introducing them.
Yeah,
what do you think about this in terms of developing an alternative counterculture?
Well, I think that's what's going to happen.
Absolutely essential. And I
This is
think,
closer to Woodstock than Glastonbury.
yeah,
Much
it
closer.
is. Yeah. Also, it's interesting. We saw some interesting artists today, like Planet Janet was interesting, and Broccoli,
Yeah, Broccoli,
Victorious, Tim Briffer. It's artists thinking about what they're doing as opposed to how am I going to get a deal.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
a very different approach,
Yeah, it
and
is.
it's much closer to how artists were in the certainly when we were touring in the 70s. We were on the road with Suicide. Now they never thought about getting signed. We did lots of shows.
Good
with
job, you never did.
They were mental. They were absolutely mental.
They were like the Pet Shop Boys on steroids.
Yeah, I mean, if you check out
Completely
Suicide,
mad.
completely bonkers. And we toured with them, and then we did some shows with Joy Division. And Ian Curtis was one of those people that was in a world of his own on stage. He wasn't thinking about, can we get a deal? They were a unit doing what they did, and it was very impressive.
Yeah, it was.
And I remember it very well. And some other bands we played with, and sometimes you
quite
feel
rare.
it is. Yeah, a lot of the bands we've toured with, certainly since we became successful, are just in the machine. They're just there, making money, stop making money, kicked out. Next band come along, you know.
Yeah.
And what do you think about supporting this cause here with the homeschooling club?
I think it's a brilliant idea.
I think it's a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
I think it's a really brilliant idea.
And just seeing the kids today, there's a freedom involved with these kids. And how many iPhones do you see? Hardly any.
No.
Very few kids with phones.
Yeah,
Which
yeah.
is really
Quite heartening, actually.
Really interesting. Those all jumping around, all the rubber things over there.
As opposed to sitting in the corner staring at the screen.
As opposed to, do.
Yeah.
And I think that is, as far as I'm concerned, that's the future of that free-spirited and a different approach, and that's sustainable.
Yeah.
This isn't sustainable.
No.
They talk about sustainable future with the Great Reset. That's sustainable.
Also,
this other bullshit isn't.
My thing also is to do with the arts. The free spirit of individual people, that's what the arts is. You won't get it out of this transhumanism crap. It's all shit. It's completely anti-art, and it needs to be fought tooth and nail from the beginning to the end. Because when great songwriting comes out of God knows where, or great dancing, Rudolf Nureyev has not got a chip in his head.
It's like
he was just a great dancer.
You sort of channel, don't you?
Yeah, you channel it. There's nothing more wonderful, I don't think, than the human experience and the human ability to think outside the box and to think weird stuff. There are lots of artists that I don't personally like, but I'm bloody pleased they're doing it.
Yeah.
Because it's like some of the acts today I wasn't mad about, but they're doing it. Like Fred says, they're doing it.
It's their thing.
It's their thing, and
Yeah.
good luck to them. You know. So I think long live art is what I say.
And what's your message to any musicians who right now are thinking of, picking up their guitar and maybe making some music about what they care about?
Get out and do it.
Get out and do it. Stick to your guns.
Always stick to your guns.
Fuck everybody else.
Yep.
And do enjoy yourself. And
Yeah.
then if you stick to what you like doing, you'll find other people who like what you do as well.
Don't try and please people. One of the problems for us in doing gigs was because we'd had quite a few hits in Europe and other places. You go out on stage and you know you're going to play the hits, and you know the people will like it. So there's no real, what's the word? There's no tension there in a way, to some extent that acceptance is a negative thing for an artist because it makes you quite lazy. So from our point of view, the whole 2 years off that we've had has made us think more carefully about what we write.
It does, yeah.
But for other artists, as Fred said, just get out there, do what you want to do, and never take no for an answer, ever. So I'm Too Sexy was turned down by everybody. Absolutely everybody. Every label, every manager, everybody. And there was one DJ, or two DJs that took it up, and they played it on the radio, and that was it. Yeah. So always stick to your guns. And if you're just the one voice, who cares?
Yeah, exactly right.
Well, this has been an absolutely lovely interview. I'm sorry, I asked for 5 minutes and you've given me...
I'm sorry.
We're all criminals. We're all criminals. There was a time when you could speak your mind down my street. street. Now that's all gone, 'cause there's something wrong down my street. It's all signs and parking fines and cameras in your face. I don't recognize this place. Oh, it's a bloody disgrace. Can't work, can't play, can't leave, can't stay. We're all criminals. So don't you worry, it's all gonna be alright. Yes, it's all gonna be, it's all gonna be, it's all gonna be alright. It's a spiritual war. If you're trying to blind, you'll get more than